Hello, I'm Koen Deloose. I'm a vascular surgeon working in Sint-Blasius Hospital in Dendermonde in Belgium. I'm course director of PVI and we are here in Paris. So OSCAR is in fact a multifunctional device that is able to support us during passing a lesion and prepping the lesion. And I think there are a lot of unmet needs today in our daily practice where OSCAR can play a very important role in improving the passing results, the passing success rates, and also in improving the prepping tools. There is mentioned that the multifunctional OSCAR device can offer us in our daily practice a lot of advantages. Versatility of materials, unmet needs in terms of costs, radiation, contrast, exchange of materials. So of course this is all mentioned in a kind of a marketing talk, but I am a scientist and so I want to see if this is really answering also our scientific unmet needs. And so I would love to have the results of OSCAR, so this is the BIO-OSCAR study. But on the other hand, we need to compare with some other cohort. We had a deep look into the literature, and there are actually no standardized protocols or trials or registries available where we find all these kind of information. So because of this, together with Biotronic, we decided to set up the BIO-OSCAR standard of care registry that is finished now, that is enrolled. And we control on different parameters that I've mentioned before to see if there is going to be really a difference when, from the moment on, we are using the OSCAR device. The key outcomes of the BIO-OSCAR standard of care were a little bit expected, I need to say. So we judged, in the majority of all the data, we judged the passing capacities and also the prepping capacities. And so if you take these together, these outcomes were as a kind of a primary outcome, perfect results. But if we are looking differently, on one side passing is done in a perfect job today. We had success rates of more than 90% with passing, even in the most difficult above the knee, below the knee CTO lesions. On the other hand, co-primary endpoint was also prepping, and looking at residual stenosis after prepping less than 30%, there was a clear room for improvement. We noticed the data around 50%, so it means that half of the patients, even after the standard of care vessel prep, still had an important residual stenosis. And so we are convinced that with, for instance, the length adjustable balloon technique with the OSCAR device, that we can improve this residual stenosis and improve the efficacy of prepping. I was the most surprised in the poor outcome of the vessel prep. So I would expect that if you do an extensive vessel prep, that we are ending up in more than 80% with cases with the residual stenosis lower than 30%. But this was not the case. Not surprising was, of course, that we've seen that with more complex lesion treatment, that also the price was increasing up to €1,100 mean price. It differs a little bit among the countries and among the hospitals, but the more complex CTOs, longer lesions, more calcified, the more expensive the procedure and the more devices that were used in terms of supporting catheters, guide wire escalating, different types of balloons, scoring balloons, sculpting balloons, and so on. So I'm sure that the lack of versatility of all these materials can be solved by using a multifunctional device like OSCAR. The way OSCAR, in my opinion, can improve the quality of vessel prep is especially with the length adjustable balloon technology and philosophy, I would say. We are all aware of the radial forces when we are inflating a regular balloon, but the majority of the physicians are not so aware of the more actual force that is mentioned by a balloon inflation. And so we know that the resulting vector of forces, axial and radial, is really the dissecting vector. And by doing a regular balloon inflation on the full length of your lesion, we create a lot of dissections in this way. If we really can tailor a lesion-specific approach with a length-adjustable balloon and just giving sufficient atmosphere where you need it and more atmosphere where you actually see the important recoil, in this way I'm sure you can reduce the dissections, you can improve the residual stenosis rates, and so in global improving the prepping result. For me, this is really the key point. I'm sure that if there is going to be, at the end of the road, a clear difference between our OSCAR, BIO-OSCAR cohort and the BIO-OSCAR standard of care cohort, it's going to be on the health economics. The escalation of guide wires that we've seen in the BIO-OSCAR standard of care, the use of different supporting catheters, the use of different balloons in terms of lengths and diameters, this could be replaced by the OSCAR, the length adjustable balloon. Also the versatility in terms of the dilator length. You can make the dilator very flexible, or also when it is in the zero position, extremely supportive and powerful to penetrate the lesion. So I'm sure that the most important differences are going to be on the money part, and that by reducing the amount of tools you need, that you can also reduce the price of your total case treatment. I think in the way of passing, as we've seen that the efficacy there and the success rate in the BIO-OSCAR standard of care was already quite high, that there it's going to be difficult to prove that the OSCAR system is making some more improvement. Having said that, I think that definitely with all the variation of positions of the dilator in the support catheter, that we definitely can avoid the guide wire escalating. We know out of the preclinical data that the support you can bring with the zero position OSCAR dilator and support catheter, that this can mimic even the strength of O35 systems, although we are working on the O18 level. And so by avoiding this escalation from O35 to O18 back to O35 and so on, I think we can also there reduce the amount of tools we need in the passing phase of the procedure. In the BIO-OSCAR standard of care and the BIO-OSCAR first, all kind of lesions are allowed. Specifically in my case, I see the biggest advantage of the use of OSCAR in the most complex cases. What does it mean? 3 parameters, in my opinion. By far, number 1 parameter is calcium. Calcium is our biggest enemy, and I'm sure with the pushability, with the tip load, the metallic tip of the dilator, OSCAR can do a great job over there. Beside this, we have the chronic total occlusions. I'm not so sure that, especially in passing, OSCAR has some advantages to offer in just regular stenosis, but I'm focusing on CTO. And then, of course, the lesion length. The longer the lesion, the more complex, and probably also the more advantage of the OSCAR device.